I've often spoke here on the show about family feuds and how they can truly escalate without really much, well, problem are there not? And as I've said before many times also, with the British monarchy or any family that's in the public eye, people take a vested interest. They look at every single aspect because we're kind of like living through a soap opera. And I don't mean to demean the British royals like that, but seemingly, with the advent of social media, everything's depicted, broken apart, all of that sort of stuff. But this particular story really does kind of, well, it's a strange one. So without further ado, let me explain in more detail as ever. Hi, good morning. Nice to see you. Neil Sean here. Let's have a wave today. You all right? Yes, not bad. Good. Nice to have your company. Welcome one and all brand new subscribers. And I often say this, but you'll be thinking, oh, what have I joined? You've joined a lovely community. Don't let that put you off. By the way, started something with fish and chips, didn't we? Yes. What about suet pudding though? Does anybody know this, or can you tell me? What's the difference between steak and kidney pudding and suet pudding? I never really understood. We used to get those ones, do you remember, in the tin? Fray Bentos used to bang around for about 12 years in a pan of boiling water. And then eventually, your mum would risk life and limb trying to open the lid and eventually tap out that pudding. Delicious though, weren't they? Did you have it? Chips and gravy. Yeah, chips and peas. Lovely. Oh, don't get me going. We're all making each other hungry again, aren't we? Back as ever to your breaking roll story of the day. This story really, as I say, it's a strange one because it centres upon the reopening after £35 million refurbishment of the National Portrait Gallery in the very heart of London. A great place, I have to say, really worth a visit, because you do get to see some things that activate the mind. And everybody's in there. Well, no, not me yet, but you never will. There will be when I blue tap my own picture up. Oh, I know. Don't you worry. But on a more serious note, this has now happened. 13 years ago, there was this wonderful portrait unveiled, which I remember, in fact, because we went to the unveiling of Prince Harry and Prince William. And there was big news. It was put together by Nicky Phillips, a great person, let me tell you. And what was interesting here was, there's a big fanfare and everybody was going to see it. And it was really a big event. I mean, after all, this is the National Portrait Gallery. Well, what we can tell you now is upon their reopening, this particular said portrait is now not going to be there. Why not? So we did a bit of investigating. Now, as we all know, the patron of the National Portrait Gallery is Her Royal Highness, the Princess of Wales, Catherine. Been there many times, been there obviously for launches, that sort of stuff. In fact, I think one of her very first big speeches was at the National Portrait Gallery. Now, the reason for its non-putting up, as it were, removal, whatever you want to call it, is there isn't enough space. It's a bit of a fickle excuse, isn't it? Now, there's two things. I was talking, as I say, to a very good insider at the National Portrait Gallery who basically said, well, it may now be going back because of public demand, which leads you to say, is this a great way of kickstarting and reminding everybody that the National Portrait Gallery is once again reopening to the public, which would be my very first thing. Also, the other speculation is that, well, because the brothers are feuding, somebody somewhere suggested it didn't need to be put back up in such a rush. I wonder who that could be. Perhaps, of course, if you could insert a third party, maybe Meghan in the middle, she'd be keen. But on a serious note, don't read too much into this particular story. As I say, I sort of speculate that this is a great PR story and nothing to do with the Princess of Wales, I might point out, but it does let the world know, as I say, that this great place in London that is free to go in, the majority of the areas at least, other than those very special exhibitions, are definitely worth going to see. It's a developing story, and as ever, when I know more, you'll know more. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.